Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to
Chips for everybody.
Chips for everybody, yes. That would be an FYI.
We have Oleg and Mark. How's it going? Welcome to the stream and thanks for joining us.
I'm in San Francisco Bay Area, a little less snow than you guys see.
How's it going, Tommy?
Hey guys, how are you?
speaker. Daniel, how's it going?
Good, thanks.
Azure function is just an entry point to
All right. Hello. Good evening. Good morning. Aaron from Solace here, joining you live with my colleague Ari. I'm going to bring you in. Hey, Ari.
Hi.
How's it going?
All good. All good.
Where are you joining us from today?
I'm based in Singapore, and now it's 11 past 2 minutes.
All right.
PM,
well,
so
yeah, in the
all
evening.
good.
I'm in Vancouver actually right now. I'm here for a visit, and so yeah, it's about 8 a.m. for me. So we're doing a true globally distributed time zone broadcast. So wherever you're tuning in from, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, or whatever time you're watching this at. So Ari, give a quick introduction. Tell the people who you are.
So yeah, I'm a sales engineer with Solace, based in Singapore, but now I usually put a title of Solution Architect just to make it fun and a bit different. I live in Singapore with the wife and 3 kids, but I'm originally from Indonesia, from a city called Binjai, and famous with a fruit called rambutan, if you know. Yeah, and I used to play music a little bit, but now not so much because of kids. Yeah, that's about it, I guess. I've been with Solace for not so close to 3 years, but yeah, hoping to get to 3 years soon.
Awesome. Well, I'm Aaron. I work in the developer advocate team here at Solace. Do some of these broadcasts. I used to be a sales engineer, solutions engineer like Ari. Anyway, today, if we're going to be talking about event API products and Kafka discovery, Ari is going to jump into it in just a second. But I do want to say, yeah, if you have a chat or you have a question you want to pose us live here on air, please put it up in the chat. We are broadcasting live on LinkedIn and on YouTube. And if you ever have follow-up questions, like you're watching this in the future, we like to hang out at solace.community. Solace.community is the location where we kind of have lots of announcements, early access programs, Q&A, all that kind of stuff. So join us there. We already have a few people join today. So hey guys, hey Abhishek, hi, hello, hi, welcome to the stream. Tariq, hello to you as well. Thanks for joining us. Where are you joining? Oh, Pune, kind of late evening, early evening there, I guess, eh? It's 11
9,
before 8:30. Yeah, 8:30 p.m. So very cool. Hello. Good morning. Good evening to you. Ari, do you want to let's bring your desktop in here and let's kick things off.
Yeah, I guess we can start with a bit of role playing, right? So let's say I'm someone external to your team. Like now, you're kind of the owner of the architectural or the architect of your enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to you and I say, I've seen your APIs, your open APIs. I like them, but do you have something else for me that is, a little bit more of a real-time stream, like a notification where I don't need to poll like
Yeah.
I do with your REST APIs? You
Well,
have something like that?
so unfortunately, being the traditional, corporate business enterprise that I am, no, I have a lot of publicly exposed RESTful APIs. They are all request reply. You have to pull them, occasionally, once a minute or once every 5 minutes to get updates. But internally, we have, a bunch of event-driven platforms. We have event brokers. We have Kafka that we use to move data around internally, but none of that is exposed publicly. So no, and unfortunately, I don't know really how to do that, to expose my events externally. So is there something that can help us?
Yeah. So yeah, that's just to kick off our discussion, right? This is something I personally have encountered quite a number of times with real life people in discussions, and that's going to be our discussion today. What do we do with such question? Like what do we do with people asking some kind of APIs, but a stream? I'm pretty sure a lot of people have the Kafka stream or other event brokers streaming events in the enterprise, not necessarily exposed to the outside world, right? So since this is a not so formal one, let's start with a meme. Yeah, so I got this question quite a lot. Like you come here, talk about event-driven architecture, talk about event, but we already have APIs, so I cannot talk to you, right? That's kind of saying that event versus API, right? Which is not really the case. It can work together, and we actually now have something called event-driven API. That's exactly what we want to talk about. And if you're more curious, you can get some more definitions out there. I put one from Gartner, which is quite simple to understand. It's the same as APIs, but instead of asking for information or sending a command, you kind of say that I want to be notified about something, or I said I'm interested about specific events, then I'm going to be standing by. You give me the stuff when it's arrives. It's kind of a subscribing to a magazine. I mean, in the good old days, I don't know if you still do that these days, but that's basically what we're trying to do.
Like
Right.
an RSS news feed almost, right? Just tell me when
Yeah.
there's something new. I don't want to have to go and ask you constantly if there's something new.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays the technical underlying is gonna be quite mixed, right? People start doing multiple hops. Some of them are event driven, some of them are streaming, but at some point they need to do polling. That still happens, but if you
Definitely.
keep it at a high level, this is the main difference of the APIs. One is being pushed, one is being pulled, right?
Yes.
Regardless of underneath, there's going to be some mix and match of things, which is fine. But then, yeah, the idea if we say I want to stream something, I want to expose something as a stream rather than waiting for the consumer to ask me and then I give the information. So that is event-driven APIs. So yeah, with that, that's the event-driven API stuff. But if we go back to the Kafka brokers that we were talking about before, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's that's a problem that we've seen in even in our customer with Solace, even brokers as well, that you have a lot of topics. So topics eventually become an event if you put in all the other attributes and properties.
Mhm.
So business knows them as business events, but it's basically topic. They are basically topics, and then you try to manage them, or even lack of managing those events. If you just have one Kafka brokers, that's fine. Right? But if you start having more and more clusters, more and more topics, then eventually when you reach a certain point here, it's just too many events to understand easily.
To
So
manage.
think
Yeah.
about, yeah, so if you are a new joiner with the team and then you need to do something, you know you need an event of like maybe a purchase order or something like that, or in telco a top up, right? But how do you know which topic is the correct one to use? There might be some topics with similar names or different version,
Mhm.
or maybe you kind of seen three different topics, but you're not sure which one to use. Right? So that stuff happens, right? So yeah, I if somebody left, then we know they are same size with us. This is from a very old movie, I guess, and in late 90s or early 20s.
Oh, it's that old, eh?
Yeah,
Oh man. Okay.
yeah. So
Yes.
people will start asking, where's my event? In which cluster? Right? Is this the correct topic to use for a specific event or not? And this is a problem that people will start seeing after some scale at some point. When you're starting, it's quite fine. Adding events mean adding business values,
Yep.
totally fine. So what we want to achieve is something like, again, from the API world, we have portal, API management. We also want to have event management, event portal for the events, where then we can easily discover, right, work and expose events.
Sweet. Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. So
I,
like DIY, yeah, when you have a small number of topics and a small number of things to manage, events to expose, yeah, you can easily do that in a spreadsheet or PowerPoint documentation or somewhere. But as it grows, yeah, you need something more automated, more tooling to help you kind of work around that. Uh, I like your graphics, man. I haven't
I
seen that
hope
movie in years.
this is not too offensive for a live show.
Not too offensive. So this, if people don't know, yeah, this movie is a very silly
Oh,
movie, and these guys get tattoos, and they just go back and forth saying "dude" and "sweet" for about 5 minutes.
yeah.
It's
Go
pretty
look it up. It's still
Hey,
somewhere there in YouTube.
all right, we do have a question actually. It's coming in here from Cool Dev Ninja. I guess maybe it's on the last slide. Are you referring to PubSub patterns when you are talking about event-driven API?
So yeah, not
Usually,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
So PubSub patterns is one of the, if not the most famous or beneficial pattern that we
Mhm.
use in different world. But what we're trying to say is, if you start from API, the idea is to expose something, expose a value out without the external party needs to understand the underlying things of the API itself. So it's kind of the same thing again. So we just stick with that, not necessarily getting to whether there's a PubSub underneath, whether it's something else,
Yep.
because you can actually have API, which is event-driven API, starting from a PubSub, but eventually in that API, it's just a just a stream. It's like a one-to-one stream, right? If you just see it from the API point of view.
Yeah.
So yeah, to answer Cool Dev Ninja, it's not necessarily have to do with PubSub patterns.
Yeah.
It's more on the fact that event-driven APIs mean I see an API, but how I consume it is by saying I want that, and then I stand by and receive it, rather than every time I need to get the info, I do another request or another pull. So just the difference between how we consume it. So if you try to put PubSub patterns in there, if there are many consumers doing the same thing, it kind of become PubSub, but it's kind of high level, right? Not really in the programming level anymore. It's like architectural level.
Yeah.
There's one stream of events. A lot of people taking or consuming the events. But yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yep. Push versus pull, right? That's kind of the
Yep.
the big. Thanks for the question there. We have someone else saying, hello, madam. Hello, welcome to the live stream.
Hello.
Good to see you. All right. Carry on. Here we go.
Yeah,
Kafka,
so,
yes.
I'll start with this because we're going to keep coming back to this to stay on the theme. The idea is if you know APIs and you have Kafka, you have a lot of topics there, then why not discover and expose the valuable ones as APIs? So there's some keywords here. Discover and expose. Like we said before you can expose, you need to discover first. You need to be able to understand easily, discover easily, work with the events, and expose the events.
Those guys are very exposed right now in the.
Yeah, I'm gonna move the slide. It's almost midnight, so I hope all adults are watching.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah,
it's morning here for me. Okay.
Yeah, so you don't necessarily need to expose every single topics of your Kafka
That's right.
clusters, right? You just need to find out which one is of value to share to the customers. So that's why first you need to discover, find which one is of value, and then you can expose it as an API. So that's the gist of the talk. And we talk about this, but I'm just gonna have a quite busy slide just to illustrate when an API works together, when both types of APIs work together, right? The placing of order is usually still done with the synchronous type of APIs, which REST APIs.
At the edge of your system.
Yes. Yeah. So some people can think of this as external to internal or north-south traffic, but you get the idea, right? This is something from a customer. They ask for something. Some step needs to happen before the confirmation comes out. But then on the right side, there are other systems that is also responsible of doing something related to the order, but not necessarily needs to be done in line or sequentially, or they need to have acknowledgement back from all this system before we can confirm the order. Right? So yeah, think of the big names like Amazon, Apple Store, right? Or any e-commerce like Shopify, they must have done something like this as well. You take the order first, and then you make sure you get the order safely stored somewhere, give the confirmation back, and then make sure the things that needs to be done eventually gets done. Right? So I'm sure people have heard about all kinds of things with eventual consistency with event-driven architecture. That has something to do with this as well. But to make it a bit more simple, I think we can think of buying coffee from the nice coffee outlets, right? You kind of get in line, say your order. The cashier will say, will tell you the price that you pay, but the cashier will not actually go back and make the coffee for you. He's just gonna put the order and then say thank you, what's your name, and then move on to the next customer. And then you wait somewhere, and then you call your name. That's exactly what happened with this as well. So
that's not yet. If it was a blocking transactional interaction where each person that paid had to wait for the coffee, your throughput would be exceptionally low because you'd have to sit there waiting at the cashier for about 3 minutes before your coffee arrives. So much better to decouple those two processes and achieve eventual consistency in terms of throughput and scale, right?
Yes. So yeah, again, eventual consistency is used quite a lot in a lot of other places as well. But I always keep coming back to the coffee example because it's quite easy. And if you read the Gregor Hook enterprise integration patterns.
Yep.
Some of his old blogs, I think from way early 2000, already use the coffee shop example for something like this as well. So this is not something new,
Yeah.
right? But then what is new, or what I think is rather new, is the picture below, because now you will need to be able to figure out what API is needed by the application on the right hand side, right? And then how do you package them as an event? So if all of these three are internal, it's still quite fine. You work with the team in meetings. You have some emails. Maybe you put up some documents, put it in the share folder. That's done. But some of these are not going to be just internal. Some of these going to be leveraged or exposed to external parties as well. So this is just a more elaborate explanation of the REST APIs or the Open API spec with the event-driven API, or later we will talk about Async API as the spec as well. Right, so let's not get too much bogged down there. So now, how to start? So this is coming back to the question that I gave you as a role play before, right? If you own these systems, you have multiple brokers, then you or your team or your newer team, new joiner team, will have these questions. Right? If you have this question in mind,
so many questions.
This is just 4, right? I can think of many others though.
Probably.
But, I think it's going to be resolving around this area, right?
Yeah.
First,
how are things documented? Where is the who owns things? Like blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think we talk about the first one and the second one, like what is the URL kind of stuff, right? But then I see 3 topics with the same or similar name. Which one should I be using for this requirement? And then when I want to start working on these events, and I want to work maybe between architects or architects with developer or architects with the partner architects, how do you work with other people? Right? Of course, if we just talk about Kafka, yeah, of course, we can still do it over Slack or chat and say that this is the topic name, copy it over, and then you need to send a schema, all that kind of stuff. But that's not standardized. Right? If you think about Open API in the REST world, we need something like that, which is what AsyncAPI is going to do later on. But this is where we started off. We will see this question when we start with a runtime that already have some events. Now we want to find out what they are and how to work together with other people. And then if I want to change something, who will be impacted? So this is more like a life cycle, not so obvious at the beginning, but everybody, every programmer will have problems with versioning. This is kind of the same thing. Right? You want to change something, you want to add something, who will be impacted? Or you want to obsolete an event that you think is not going to be used anymore, but how do you know who's going to be impacted? Right? If you have too many topics, you will kind of lost track who publishes what, who subscribes to what. Right? That's where we started. And then
one second, Ari, take a sip of water. I just want to tell people, yeah, we're going to be doing a live demo in just a few minutes, so stick around for after the slides. And I thought I'd give a shout out to people that are joining and saying hello. Apnatva, hello. How's it going? Good vibes. Yeah. Oh, you know this. Oh yeah. Awesome. We have Philippe joining from Montreal. All right. Yes, Canada. Happy about that. All right. Thanks for joining us, and yeah, stick around. We're gonna be we're gonna see if Ari's demo works smoothly live on air. Okay, back to you, Ari.
Yeah, actually, it's the
it's now time for the demo. Oh no, one more.
Yeah.
No,
this is just like a pointer what we're gonna do, right? So I'm gonna do 3 things, and we're gonna do it step by step. The first one is again to find out what you have, right? So you have a lot of topics. Now we need to figure out how to to see what topics you have, and then you understand what they mean. Basically, understanding what is this events, what is this business events, and then you expose it. Right. So I'll just keep it here so we know what we're doing. So yeah, let me go to the. So I'm going to run local broker here. I'm going to reset that so it's clean. So I pretty much do nothing with this. I just unzip the Kafka and run it. Okay, I think something is not right. Let me just do it. Yeah, if I stop it in the wrong order, it's going to do something like this.
Yeah.
Let's.
Did you get Zookeeper started first? I blow away everything. So we're just running so you're just running a local copy of standard Apache Kafka with Zookeeper. This could work with, I mean, if you're running in the cloud, this would work if we're using Confluence platform as well, right? This is just for simplicity to make sure that it's.
Well, I'll keep that at the backside. I'm gonna have 3 applications, which is a Spring Boot application. It's quite easy.
Can you zoom in? Can you zoom in a couple of clicks there, Ari? Just so for people like me on small screens, I'm just on my laptop today.
Yeah,
that's great. I can.
Yeah. So this is the apps, and then I'm gonna have something called a discovery agent running. So this one I'm gonna run it as an application locally, but there's also option to run it as a Docker container. Right. So that is there. Let me go back to this. So this one is not really running yet.
Not running yet. While we're waiting, hey Tamimi, how's it going? Good morning. Good to see you. Thanks for joining.
Something is running here.
The joy of live demos, right? as soon as we need to do it for real.
I shouldn't have stopped it before.
Yeah. And this is just starting the Kafka broker. This is not even doing any of the discovery and event API products that we're talking about here. So let's watch Ari stress over this thing a little bit while he tries to figure it out. For those of you just joining, thanks for tuning in. We are we're doing a live demo in just a few minutes here. Of the PubSub Plus event portal for Kafka, the discovery agent that can reach out and look into your Kafka brokers and actually make sense of some of the data that it finds there, and then allows you to be able to generate automatically kind of like public-facing documentation and location information for you to expose some of those valuable events that you might find internally within your organization to external parties. So we're going to start we're starting at the high level. We're starting with just a Kafka broker and looking at the topics that are available. So as people out there hopefully know,
using the conductor. I think if somebody else used that, let me just go. Oh, you cannot see that. Okay. So I have a conductor running just to be able to show you what's going on.
For those that don't know what conductor is, if they're not familiar with Kafka, it's kind of just another GUI management. Yep.
I have one broker. I think the Zookeeper one is because I left it running, so I just killed it and then restarted again. So now it's empty, no topic, no consumer, right?
Yep.
And then
fresh broker.
I'm just going to run a bunch of applications. So I'm going to talk about these applications in a bit. So I'm going to have 3 applications for now. So one is called a patient app. One is called a doctor app. And so the first one is just going to be sending data out, like heartbeat and blood pressure, and also chatting with the doctor. And then there's a doctor who's also receiving alerts of patient information and also doing some chattings. And the alert will come from this third application, which takes all the raw data and do some calculation, send out the calculated data, and also send out alerts if something is not right, like my Zookeeper just a minute ago.
These are Spring apps that are using Kafka to communicate, right? That's pretty much it.
Yep. So this is a Spring Cloud stream, to be precise.
Spring Cloud
So
stream,
it's quite easy. And oh yeah, actually I do have the code to show just a little bit. So yeah, this
Cool
this
Dev
is gonna
Ninja
be,
is asking us a question here.
yep.
And I think it's just a basic server. So yeah, Ari, are you setting up a basic server, or are there custom properties that you're configuring?
No, so yeah, don't look at me as your Kafka expert. What I did was just unzip the target file just now. What? Yeah. So just run the again, just one zookeeper, one Kafka.
Very
broker, that's
basic,
all. No
bare
topic,
bones Kafka
see.
setup.
Yeah, but now I have these three applications. So if we refresh this,
we should see.
now we see some topics got created by the applications and some consumers as well. Right. So these topics is the patient stuff and the doctor stuff. Right.
You want to zoom in one click there, or one or two?
I don't think I can zoom in this.
Oh no, this GUI doesn't support it. Okay, never mind.
Not the start of the show, so that's fine.
That's fine.
So what I'm going to do now is go over to this thing called Discovery Agent.
Yes.
Right. So Discovery Agents, we use it to go into a Kafka environment. It can be the Amazon one, the Confluent one, or the open source one. It's you can take your pick. So I'm going to call this just demo, and it's running on my local host and the standard port. I don't use authentication for now. As I said, I did not do anything. And I just want to scan for all topics. Then I start scanning.
So for those that don't know about the Discovery Agent, do you want to kind of explain what it is?
Yeah. So when we talk about finding out what the events that we have, so we at Solace have this tooling, which is go into the runtime and then do some stuff and then get some information out. So this is the information that I get, and this is useful in the PubSub Plus Cloud. And then we have something called Discovery. So I'm gonna try to go through all the others a bit later. But what I'm gonna do now is get that Discovery file. Download. So I think this.
So this scanned your local broker, and it didn't need to be local. I mean, obviously it could scan any broker that it can see and connect to by the network.
Yeah, you can put a
cloud address or
internet-based address as well. Yeah,
anything. Yeah,
you can totally do that. Not a problem. So
and then it saves. And then it saves it. What does it save it to your local disk, the scan, or does it just post it into the cloud, or where?
You can do both actually. I think I skipped that part, but once you do that, you will have an option to push to your event portal. So again, this is a web based tool, and what I did just now is download it because so I can use it again later on, and then I can import it to a designer, right? Awesome. And then I'm not going to use what the existing ones that I have now. I'm just going to create a new one for now. Demo mesh.
We have a keener out there. Mustafa is wondering where all of your code is. Is it on GitHub? Is it open? Is it somewhere public? I think I know the answer, but
so,
you can share that.
Yeah, it was. So what happened is this code was used in the Kafka Summit APAC few months back, but I did some changes, so maybe I'll post the link a bit later because I changed something yesterday for this talk, and then I haven't pushed that back to the code, the repo. So if you still have the repo from the old one, Aaron, feel free to share it. It's gonna be quite the same.
I will go and find it while you're presenting. Yeah. And in the meantime, I would just like to say that we will, if you have more questions after the fact, after we're done being live here, come over to solace.community and post a question there. Tag Ari, tag myself, and we can always talk about more.
And don't worry too much about the code because as you see,
it's very simple. It's very basic code, yeah.
and this actually was generated using AsyncAPI code generator tool as well, because I'm I'm just designing the application in AsyncAPI and then generate the code, because I'm not so much of a Spring expert. But then I did some changes which is going to be quite different with what you see in the old Git repo, which I haven't updated, because now I try to do this thing using regex pattern for the the subscription, which is not done in the last demo. So yeah, that's quite easy. The thing that I want to show is you have some applications running. You have a Kafka broker running. Of course, mine is very simple. It's plain vanilla, no customization. Just 7 topics we found so far, and then we also have 5 consumer groups. Some of them have the name. Some of them is anonymous, right? So what's the difference? If someone would ask, what's the difference between having a tools like, again, the conductor,
yeah,
or this one? So again, this is not an administration tool. So you would have something like all kinds of tools. Like there's so many things in Kafka world that you can create topics, go and create topics, go and remove topics.
Yeah. View the number of topics, view the number of consumers, offsets, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yes, but what we want to do is find this and then get an enterprise level or an enterprise view of all the events. So it can be many Kafka clusters. It can be Kafka mixed with some Solace brokers as well, and then visualize and have a catalog of the applications and the events, right? So the other comparison would be with the AsyncAPI tooling. So if you go to AsyncAPI, there's some toolings as well there. You can also start to do some visualization with some good works with some of the new team member there. You will see events and brokers and how they relate to each other. But we go a bit further because we need to see application as well, which is this consumer group. I don't have connectors for now, so it's empty. And I don't have something like API Curio or schema registry there as well, so it's empty. But if you have, you can see it here. What we're going to do is actually now make sense of the topics that we found. So first thing that going to be quite different from Kafka mindset is, why do we need to have something like a tree here, right?
It's nested.
Like a taxonomy, right? Because Solace works with topics quite differently, and then we understand that having taxonomy like this is useful. So it's kind of opinionated that we were going to visualize all the events like this as well, but not a problem.
It is. I mean, even though Kafka topics are kind of just flat labels, there is best practice documentation and guidance around kind of like building maybe not a nested topic name, but kind of including multiple informations and putting a dot between them. So if if you just go into Google and type in Kafka topic naming conventions, the first couple of results you'll see will kind of say, don't just call it logs or payments. It'll say something dot something dot something. So so this visualization in a tree structure is not that crazy, I think, even for a Kafka topic, which is a flat label. So one question, Ari, while I'm having you a pause there, this Cool Dev Ninja is saying, hey, it looks like you were running the scan from your local host. He saw that up in the URL. He or she. Is this discovery agent part of their product, or do I need to download it from somewhere?
So if you are in the Solace Cloud console, and then you see again a bunch of
Solace Cloud, just so you know, is our SaaS platform, but it's free to sign up for. So you can just go and demo it and try it out.
Yeah.
You can download it from there. Yep.
So to answer your question, it is something that you download for a bunch of reasons, including some people doesn't like to put in their password into a SaaS system. Yep. So you can choose to run this as a Docker container, or you can download it as an application. Right? So what I'm doing now is I have it downloaded into my local machine, so I run it locally. I can also do it in Docker. It's your choice. So yeah,
So
that's the answer to that.
Yeah, so it kind of means that the PubSub plus the Solace Cloud SaaS is not reaching into your Kafka brokers and infrastructure. It's essentially, yeah, you download this little container, and then you can run it locally within your environment. So and only what you tell it to put up into the cloud. I mean, you can save your scan and kind of browse through it just to take a look at what the data that's in there, and it's literally just kind of your topics and your consumer groups and kind of what it finds. So you run it, yeah, you do run it locally.
Yeah. Okay, so just continuing again, we talk about the taxonomy, and then you see some ideas here. In the Kafka world, you might not do this quite a lot, right? Because you need to create the topic first. You usually just put everything in alert patient and then put the patient ID somewhere in the payload or in the key. But some people might do this as well. Maybe not patient ID, maybe something else. The topic is actually quite, fine grain. In Solace world, this is kind of, recommended. You should do this because there's no performance impact and it gives you a lot of flexibility. So that's why my sample actually have one level, which is an ID. So the idea now is I want to map this into an event. Later I can visualize it. But one of the first step I need to do is find out all this thing and then create, we call it variable, but it will end up as an enumeration. Right, a sample will be something like patient ID, something like this. So if I do this, I basically reuse some other enumeration, and just put the name as patient ID. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you will see something like this. And then once you have this, you can add that as an event. So where to put those events? So this is where the application domain comes into picture. So if you see on the right, I actually already have a domain called Solace Health with some applications, with some events and schema, which was built exactly like this. And if I keep doing this, adding events, I will end up with something like this. If you want to create a totally new one, you can just say, I want to have a new domain. Maybe pass the name, maybe SHD. So this is like a prefix of the topic. And then you can start saying, I have a new application, new app, maybe patient. So this is just dummy. I'm not gonna use this much later on, but then you can start saying that this events is gonna be part of that new domain. Yeah, so something like that. You give it a name, and the schema for now is gonna be empty because we're not doing schema. It can be anything, something like this. But if you keep doing this and you map all the application as well, you say this is actually this application. Just for example, right?
So you have to kind of fill in some of the details, right? The scan can see some of the things, but you as the architect, as the owner of this Kafka infrastructure, you would kind of know, I have 3 different apps generally, and this is how they kind of are wired together, right? So you kind of have to fill in some details yourself. Okay.
Yeah, so you can do this incrementally as well. So not to worry, like if I add new application, do I need to do everything from scratch? No, you can do it incrementally.
Yeah, deltas.
The first one might be tough if you already have hundreds of topics, because we actually, some of my colleagues in other parts of the world come to a customer and say, you want to try this out? And they say, yeah, we have like 300 topics. And then they do a scan and they figure out, they found actually 600 topics instead.
Yeah.
So yeah, somebody might have some, some extra hours finding out what are all the other topics are. But once you do all
that's one of the big advantage of this tool is, just people don't know what's out there sometimes, right? I mean, developers, God bless them, sometimes just go and start publishing on random topics. Topics don't delete things, and you are always surprised at what you find out there in the wild. That's been my kind of experience with customers and live setups, right? So
yeah, so this is kind of the end result. And some of this arrow are gonna be automatically there when you do the discovery and put the application name, and then the application actually subscribe to a topic, and the topic is actually mapped to an event, then it will come up just like this.
Zoom in a few clicks there, Ari, so we can read the text. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's good.
So
nice.
Again, you have the patient mobile app. You have the chat events coming in and out from both these applications.
So the apps can both send and receive those events. Yeah.
Yeah. So you see this line coming out to the data processor. Data processor actually then send out a calculated events and alert, which is then consumed by doctor mobile app. So these are the things that you don't see in administrative tools like Conductor before, or even other tools, right? That's available out there.
Showing the orchestration or the kind of who is getting what and who is sending what. Yeah.
So there is some growing features in the other types of tools for finding out the flow. I think if you're working a lot with Kafka, you'll see patterns where you have one large topics, maybe like called payment or orders, and then you have KSQL or something else that takes that events and then do something and then actually come out with another smaller topics. Like this is payment from Singapore, this is payment from Hong Kong, and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Which does not happen with MQTT stuff or with Solace stuff. But because of that, those tools, their tools usually have something called a flow or a lineage, which also covered here. But yeah, there are some overlapping in terms of looking at the events, but in terms of seeing everything like applications and events and schemas, this is kind of the only tools that I know that do this. Right? And then these applications, you can also basically download the AsyncAPI and then generate code from here. Right? You can just Google AsyncAPI generator, something like this, to find out how to generate applications from the spec. So we provide the spec, but the generator is open source tools.
AsyncAPI, for those that don't know, is an open source initiative that has been around for a couple of years now, three years.
Almost 3, I guess.
Yeah, working with a lot of big companies, Solace being a partner, and trying to build a specification, a standardized specification to help describe event-driven APIs, asynchronous APIs that are very complementary to our Open API Swagger kind of RESTful APIs. So, sorry, Ari, I don't know if you were going to cover that later, but if people didn't know what AsyncAPI was, I thought.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, go check it out. AsyncAPI.org. It is.
That's the standardization that we use. So it helps with exchanging, working with others, and sharing out. Right. So we did the scanning before. We do the scan. We got the file. We upload it to the portal, and then now we finish understanding what they mean. We know what the schemas are, who publishes, who subscribes them. So we've got all this, and then just to add one more thing that you can do with Portal is the discoverability, right? So this is one of the important things. Let's say I want to search for blood. So
can you zoom in one or two buttons? Yeah, nice. Yeah, beautiful. I can read it.
Yeah, so searching for blood doesn't sound that
searching
nice,
for blood. Oh man.
I hope that illustrates what the idea is.
Keywords. Yeah, we're looking for keywords here.
It's only available actually in the description. It's not even in the topic name. It's not even in the something else, right? But you can search from all the domains, from whether that's in Kafka or it's in Solace, and you can search for, if you say patient, it will tell you where it got the hit. Right? It can be in the topic display, it can be in the name, it can be in the topic address.
Oh wow, yeah.
Like this, or it can even be in the enumeration name. So this helps when people looking for the events and try to figure out. And this is not just useful for architects and developers. data compliance officer, you can use this quite a lot to make sure all your payloads are not violating any compliance or policy, right? That kind of stuff. So
data scientists who want to like look through their organization's events for particular keywords as well. You know, they're like, I want to gather all the data on this particular thing and feed it into my AI. All sorts of people might be interested. Yeah, be able to want to look through the catalogs.
So yeah, so we can think of this as a centralized tool for all your event-driven architecture. So you have multiple Kafka clusters. That's fine. You can actually segregate by application domain if you want to do it in the business domains approach, but you can still see everything in a single place. And make sure if you want to change something, this tool will also let you know that these are all the applications that are going to be impacted if you change something about this. There's going to be version here. There's going to be the schema version as well. So it kinds of have everything that you need to know, right? Even the schema.
That's perfect timing there, Ari. We have a question here from Sarah Jane. Is this like a data dictionary for streams?
I suppose so. I mean, if you say by data dictionary, you want to have a single place where you just put some keyword and then find all the events that has something to do with the keyword, then yes. And then if you click on it, you can see the details, like who's the owner, what type is it? Is it JSON? Is it something else? And then all kinds of information is going to be there. So I think the answer is yes.
That's part of it. I think the event portal is more than just a data dictionary, right? Because of the kind of the graph interaction view of your different applications, who is publishing to whom, you know, and the code generation component out of that.
Like so this part, yes.
The catalog part is definitely more like a data dictionary.
This one is kind of seeing all your application domains, seeing how they work together, and you can also find things like this. You figure out that actually I have some events that is not being used. These events are produced, but no one is making
to them.
No one is listening to them. So you can find orphan events like this as well. Or worse than this is somebody needs that, but no one is actually publishing. So you can figure out from this quite easily as well. Pretty useful if you think of yourself as a new joiner and want to make sense of what's going on. So this helps. Right, so we take a look at the discovery before. We do some discovery, we get it, we map it, and then we can see it in the designer. We can also see it in the catalog. Right, and then the next step is going to be to expose it. Right, so this is the third step.
Yes.
Now you have all these topics. Then you want to start finding out which one is valuable. Then we want to expose it out to the world. So for this example, I take just one. So I called it alert events.
So this is we're still inside the event portal here, right? So we've got, we've looked at the designer, the catalog, discovery, and now we're on the fourth button down there. Yes, API products.
Oops, sorry. I keep so when I create an API product, what I want to do is curate some APIs, right? Some relevant APIs that belongs together or meant for a specific customer. So it doesn't need to be just one event. It can be multiple events, but I know that this is useful for a targeted consumer. For this example, I just call it alert API, and then I said I'm gonna take it from the Kafka mesh.
Right.
You can put some summary, and then so these are optional, but it's good to have, especially when we want them to be very self-explanatory later on, so people can start consuming immediately once they see the spec. I put the URL and the protocol as well.
That's not a very useful URL for external people, though, is it? You know, like this ideally would be some public address. You know, it would be in the cloud. It would be some externally visible URL or something. So
you're right.
Just it's just because we scanned Ari's local broker that it has a local host. So don't be afraid of that.
Yeah. So then the second part is the which events to put in.
To
As
expose.
you see these all events that are shared. So the keyword is all the events that are shared. If I have events in my designer, but I don't mark it as shared, it will not show up here. Right? So it's just the one that I say this is shared. So the
So
schema can be shared,
non-shared events would be more like internal to that application domain. They're not meant to be exposed kind of publicly,
yes.
right? Yeah.
Because we started with system events, and then maybe there's a login events, login failure events. That doesn't really make sense to expose to other parties. But alert seems to be a good choice. So I take one. Maybe you can put another one as well. But for this example, I only have one. And I say that you can subscribe to these events. So that's how they see it, how AsyncAPI does it. You can subscribe to this, or later on I can have an API that people can publish into. But now this is just subscribe. So once I have this, I can release it. And when I release it, I will have 2 endpoints. So before I release it, that's already an API product, but it's still maybe considered internal only. So everybody in my team that has access to this console, they will be able to download this spec and see what it is. But for people outside, there's no way for them to see that unless I maybe like email the AsyncAPI spec file to them. But if I release it, that becomes external, and that can be accessed directly from this URL. You get the JSON file or YAML if you want, or you can also host it in something like this. So maybe like Swagger from the OpenAPI world, where it kind of gives you the more visual look. You can still download the YAML and JSON, but you can see quite easily what channels are available, what are the bindings, and what the event and the schema and the server information. So this is if all expanded. Right, so channels, we only have one, and there's something called patient ID, which is a wildcard. Right, so when you see this, you know that this is something like a variable. So in Solace and MQTT, you can use asterisk or plus in MQTT. In Kafka, you might need to use regex to say that I don't care about what patient ID is there. So any topics with matching pattern will be subscribed. So once you have this, you download the spec, and then you can go here and find out which one you want to use. So this is open source, and please be mindful that this generator is maintained by different teams. Some of them are very focused to Kafka, some of them are very focused to Solace, some is very focused to MQTT, for example. So take your pick, and or if you want to do it the manual way, just look at this and figure out, okay, I can do my own. You can start writing your own Kafka application to subscribe. Feel free. This is the specification. Again, just like Swagger. So that's the third step, right? So if we go back here, once you find out all the topics that you have in an easier way, rather than having to do command line listing all the topics and then finding out the schemas and whatnot, you can just do a scan, and then from the scan you start seeing all these topics, map it into events. You know what they are, you know what applications subscribe to them, who publishes them, and then you have the visualization, have the catalogs. Now all the team can see, and then you find out some events that are actually valuable that you can start exposing to the outside world. And then you can do it in a very standardized way because we're using AsyncAPI spec. Then off you go. You can share the endpoint to your partners, saying that this is the API that we have, and then you can take it and do your thing. And I guess just to add, in the near future, which is not shown here, but if you are familiar with all the API management players out there, the big ones already started to support this AsyncAPI spec since I guess since early last year. I mean, recently I've seen more and more people, more and more vendors actually blog quite publicly about the support. And what they mean is then you can have a single API portal, just like you did with REST, and then you can see these are all my catalogs, these are events based, these are REST based. Then I want to subscribe to this one, or I want to just do a poll for this one. You can do that. And then, but again, that's in the near future. I don't think that's really mature and stable now.
Yeah,
So
I've seen
timely,
a
you can use
few
the
presentations of some from other vendors that are starting to kind of introduce the concept of topics and async into their products. But yeah, they have some catching up to do. It's definitely not quite as mature as the PubSub Plus.
I think it's quite fast, because I start seeing that last year only 1-2 big names do that. This year,
quite a few,
like 60-70% of the names, if you look at their demos in conferences, they start talking about that. Although in terms of real demo, I have only seen 2. One from MuleSoft and one from WSO2,
WSO2
which is quite nice. For people want to try. But even before that, you can start using the AsyncAPI to do all this stuff. I mean, you might not have the end user or developer self-service toolings like getting tokens and whatnot, but you can still give them the AsyncAPI spec with complete information of where the event can be consumed. Maybe credential is going to be outside, but yeah, it's there. And AsyncAPI also really busy at work. I have difficulties to keep up with all the new stuff, honestly.
It's a rapidly evolving
specification. Take a look at that one as well.
I have seen the demos that I've seen do incorporate AsyncAPI, and obviously using the AsyncAPI code generation capabilities, which are outside of the various vendors. You can still build apps. I haven't seen any that incorporate the discovery scan capability that the event portal has.
I don't think it will be there actually, because they focus on the fact that they can
documentation and
they can put it as a list for the consumers to go through that to get the credentials, the authentication and whatnot, and also do service level throttling and whatever you need to do there as well.
That's right.
Yeah. So I guess that's it that I have for you guys today. I hope that raises some question and you want to try it out. Go to Solace Cloud and try this yourself.
That's right. Head over to solace.cloud, sign up for a free account, download the discovery tool and scan your brokers.
Let us know what you find.
Let us know what you find. Let us know if you're surprised, if you turn it loose in maybe your dev environment at work, just how many random things you kind of stumble across. As with any kind of larger organization, as things grow, they just organically kind of, you just get a lot of random stuff out there that maybe nobody's keeping track of. So the discovery agent is a great way to kind of find things that maybe you might not.
Because you have different teams just putting in their own topics all the time. Even then, after several months, they also forgot what the other topics that I used to have before. And
Comment
I
from
think the main thing is to be able to find out the valuable ones and expose it, leverage it, monetize it.
Document it. I mean, having it's up until now. A lot of the customers I've worked with, they'll have, their Solace topic hierarchy maybe all done in an Excel spreadsheet somewhere. They'll have PowerPoint to kind of show which apps talk to which apps or where the flow kind of goes through their organization. Maybe Word documents or Confluence documents to kind of specify the schema or the payload, and kind of having to keep those updated. Now there's this tool, this SaaS kind of helps you kind of just document that and centralize it. So it's actually pretty useful. Thanks, Derry, for the comment. Cool product. We'd like to think so as well. But if you want to give it a try, solace.cloud, sign up for it.
We do have questions?
We do have a question.
Okay.
Derry's commenting on both YouTube and LinkedIn. That's you're watching both streams. That's cool. how does the product impact Kafka performance?
Yeah, so think of this as a single subscriber, right? So when the scan is running, it basically connects to the Kafka cluster, Kafka broker, and think of it like having a regex that tries to subscribe to all topics. How is the impact? I need to check because I've only been doing testing with my own dummy Kafka clusters. Yeah, looking for comments as well for everybody who's done it against real life Kafka clusters, like a large Kafka clusters, how it works. But again, in terms of event broker, it's all decoupled, right? If you just think of it as a single subscriber trying to see what are all the topics are there and what is the consumer groups, not in terms of adding more traffic to it, not putting in more events into it, just reading it out.
It's you know, the scan doesn't last forever. It's kind of a you run the scan. It's not kind of like an ongoing thing. And it uses, a lot of the kind of the management API capabilities to kind of look into the brokers and see what's there. So yeah, it's not like it's doubling your throughput through the broker through Kafka or anything like that. So hopefully not too much. Although if you had a massive Kafka cluster with, thousands of topics, it might take a little while to scan all of that, but it probably wouldn't impact your broker all that much versus other management tooling that's kind of looking through your
yeah, it doesn't do any admin stuff as well. So there's no such thing as deleting topics while you're there. And yeah, it's not meant for that. It's meant to be a bridge from where we have a runtime and then load it into the design. Right? That's what usually happens. Of course, there's another way of doing things. If you're a greenfield project, you design first and then you start implementing to your Kafka brokers. But yeah, we all know that's going to be like 2% of the real world use case.
Yeah.
It's going to be very little.
People usually have stuff already in working.
So instead of starting here, you start from here.
Toddy, nice before going to bed. All right. Well, thanks for joining us before bed. Ari is probably heading to bed very shortly as well. I'm just starting my day. It's 9 a.m. here now. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks to everybody for asking us questions. Before we go, Ari, Sarah Jane here has another question.
Okay.
A bit subjective. What's the most impactful use case someone's discovered using this software, the Kafka discovery, I guess, or building a event API?
So I think one of the things that stick to my mind from talking to my colleagues around the globe is the fact that one of our customers say confidently that they have only 300 topics and then figure out they have more than that, which is an eye-opener because you have risk there, risk of not able to make use of something useful, also risk of having something that you're not aware of, right? That's one thing that I feel is quite impactful. Of course, maybe not that exposed yet, but I've seen a lot of other comments in the, I forgot what, there was a website of people putting in, comments or reviews, third-party site, and people saying that they were stuck with spreadsheet for a very long time for managing events and end up having multiple versions and totally have no idea how to manage the events, but now they have. I don't have any other more concrete.
I know that just being able to visualize things as humans, we are quite visual creatures. We detect patterns very well. Being able to kind of graph some of the interactions in the designer there has really kind of opened some people's eyes. Like they had no idea that this one topic was being consumed by so many different application domains within their organization. They thought things were a lot more self-contained and manageable. But once they started looking, they realized that they needed to kind of start tightening up some of their data access requirements and stuff like that. So
and it's early days, so we're hoping to hear more and more good experience, but this is what we want to achieve. The sweet dude saying that
Yeah.
now I
You're
can
gonna be
see
sweet.
everything easily, and I can discover events, so I don't accidentally keep creating new events where there's something else that's quite similar already there. Or then maybe somebody look at the visualization and realize I can make use of these new found events which we were not aware before. Maybe it's done by other teams, but it's useful for us. So kind of realize the values of the topics. It's not just going to be there and not being exposed.
Yeah. So the catalog, the discovery agent have been part of the event portal for a little while now. Yeah, just being able to search across your organization for, based on keywords, looking at what's available. And then the event API products, that's kind of new for us, exposing that as kind of like, via a website to kind of have documentation around that. That's a bit newer for us. So early days, but thanks for the question. And that's it for questions. Ari, I think that's going to be a wrap. So, hey, thanks for staying up late and doing this trans-Pacific, Vancouver to Singapore broadcast.
Yeah.
We had a lot of good questions and a lot of good interaction. So I hope that people found it useful. Come find us on solace.community if you have any follow-up questions. Solace.community. Sign up there, and Ari, any last words before I shut this down?
I hope it's been useful for us. This is early days with event-driven APIs. Hopefully catching you all soon in Solace community for new questions. Or you can also tag us in LinkedIn or Twitter, whichever channel you find easier.
I don't tweet that much, but yeah, LinkedIn, you can find me on LinkedIn there. We're both around, so
cool.
Awesome.
Yep.
Okay, well, thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thanks for the questions, Ari. It's been great as always. I'm Aaron from Solace, and we'll see you on the next broadcast. All right. Thanks very much.
Yes.
Bye.